Yo, so here's a cool little trick for tuning different layers of your sound to overtones. So basically you probably know how, if you get like a note here, it has all this overtones, all this overtone series. If you have a saw wave, it gets all these overtones. And let's say we want to tune this specifically to these different overtones to, let's say, create interesting layers or something. With normal tuning, you can't quite do this, basically because normal tuning is slightly off, but we can just use just intonation. So we can kind of put this just intonation retune thing here, or in different DAWs you'll need different tricks. Get another layer here. And then we can, for example, get a multi-note and, I don't know, use a fifth, an octave and a fifth above. And now this sound here is perfectly in tune with the third overtone here. Because basically just intonation is a type of tuning that is exactly aligned to these overtones. So you'll need to know your overtone series in midis, the octave and the fifth, 2 octaves and a third is another one of these harmonics. You can see here, that's how we get this one. 2 octaves and a fifth, 2 octaves and a third, or 3 octaves and a third, and so on and so on. 3 octaves here. So basically this is our overtone series, which we can use to kind of tune different notes, which is pretty neat. And we can do this with just intonation, just to kind of show you that these are slightly misaligned here. So let's maybe... we can't really see it, it's a very subtle difference. But basically now we can kind of use this to create different layers for different overtones. Let me just make sure this is a pure sine. Basically we have a sine wave here, and then let's say we want to add a third. We just use a multi-note, we use our just intonation thingy here. And then we can, for example, add the third overtone here, or we can like also add, I don't know, the 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth overtone, fifth overtone, and so on. So we can kind of use this too. And then we can do stuff like arpeggiate through these and kind of arpeggiate through overtones of a note. So one thing I kind of like doing is that I get these multi-notes, and then I get these notes here. So these are all overtones. And then we can kind of create an arp through the overtone series. So if I get like an arpeggiator here, and then it'll kind of cycle through these overtones here, and then we can kind of do stuff like randomize these and maybe do this in a note layer so we get the fundamental all the time. So we can group this here, randomize these, and then get a different note layer that's just basically putting the note through. So we now get the fundamental and like cycling through different overtones. Let's slow this down a little bit, and I'll show you what this sounds like in a second, don't worry. Slow it down and maybe make this random. Or maybe there's like a random other, I think. No, there isn't. So yeah, now this basically is a note with randomized overtones, because we're kind of arpeggiating in just intonation through these harmonics here. You'll need to look up these harmonics, just Google like harmonics in notes or something, and then use these semitone values. So if we listen to this, we get this kind of very pure tuning. So now what we could do is, for example, we could add some more MIDI effects to this, like, I don't know, maybe like a dribble. And a note length to make these a bit longer. Keep a look on the spectrum. And then we get all these kind of multiple notes here. Make the dribble a bit slower. Randomly going through the overtones. And then we can use this as the starter, for example. What I've done before is like a neuro bass. We can also use, there's this other thing here, it's called like Ricochet. Yeah, this one, yeah. Kind of makes the notes bounce around. So that's kind of fun. Let's just maybe create some more here. And then make the gate length, make sure all the notes are pretty long. Kind of get more overlap, and then we can listen again, and we get these kind of harmonics that are randomized here. Hope this all makes sense. So it's almost like we've turned this multi-note with the just retuning into a kind of additive synth. And we can kind of treat the harmonics independently and stuff. So that's a pretty cool trick. Let's just maybe do a little demo sound, because I feel like this explanation wasn't great. So let me convince you with some sounds here. Also, when we now saturate this, we get very pure harmonics, because we're only driving with multiples of a fundamental here. So we can kind of like make a bass with this, for example. Let's turn this up. So yeah, it's pretty cool using these kind of harmonics in just Intonation as a sound design tool. Maybe something you didn't think of yet before. Hope this was interesting. Cheers.